All right, so look, let me ask you something. You ever really stop and think about how easy it is for some of these folks in the public eye? I'm talking about people we're supposed to look up to have a whole other secret life going on behind the scenes. And what's even crazier, right, is how fast all of that can just boom, completely fall apart. I mean, it's wild. So today we got to do a deep dive into one of these situations. We're talking about the charges against a pastor. A pastor, you hear me? And not just that, a school board member from Claremore, Oklahoma. So let's get into it. The main event, this whole thing kicks off on an afternoon. And get this, it's at a Hobby Lobby, man, near 71st and Mingo in South Tulsa. You know, you can't even make this stuff up. So the store security, they're doing their thing, watching the cameras, and they spot this man following a woman inside the store. Now, the allegation, and listen to this, is that he was trying to record under this woman's skirt with his cell phone. But hold up. It wasn't just a one-time thing. Nah, man. The reports say he tried it 11 times. 11 over 16 minutes. That's just persistent and real invasive. Now, thank God somebody was paying attention. You know, a loss prevention employee sees this whole thing happening live on the security camera. So they follow the dude out to his car and they get his license plate info, which, side note, was a tribal tag. We might circle back to that later. So this same employee, and this is the real deal right here, goes back inside the store and finds the woman at the checkout. He tells her, look, this is what we just saw this man allegedly doing. So they encouraged her to go file a police report online. And just like that, that's how they put the pieces together. That info, the tag number, the surveillance video, that's how the detectives figured out who they were looking at. They identified the man as Kendrick Oakley. Well, look, this Kendrick Oakley fella, he's 34 years old, from Claremore. And he wasn't just some random guy off the street, you know what I'm saying? Nah, man, this brother was prominent. He was known. He was listed as one of the pastors or elders at Destiny Life Church on their Claremore campus. And on top of that, get this, he was also on the board of education for the Claremore Christian School, which is connected to the church. A pastor and on the school board. We talking about some significant influence right there. Very significant. Apparently, he'd been on staff at the church for about 3 years. And the school board position, that was actually brand new. He was just elected back in late May of 2025. According to the news, my man hadn't even been to a single meeting yet. So what was his public image like? Man, by all accounts, it was squeaky clean. Folks described him as a gifted musician, passionate about ministry. He's a married man, 4 kids, with the 5th one expected in December 2025. You see the picture they're painting? A role model figure, basically, someone people really looked up to. Oakley was also a vlogger, and apparently, you're not going to believe this, he'd made videos discussing things like the church needing to talk more openly about sexuality. The incident happened in July, right? But the charges, they weren't filed right away. Nah, there's a big old delay. And this is where it gets real interesting. Get this. At first, the Tulsa County DA's office actually declined to prosecute. Well, it all came down to this thing called jurisdiction. Remember what I said about that tribal tag on his car? Well, Oakley came out claiming he was a tribal citizen. See, the tribal tag connection? Exactly. Look, it's a huge deal out there in Oklahoma. Basically, what it says is that big parts of eastern Oklahoma are still considered Native American reservation land when it comes to who can prosecute a crime. So the argument was, if he's a tribal citizen and the crime happened on what's considered reservation land, then the state of Oklahoma can't touch him. It would have to fall under federal or tribal law, not the Tulsa County DA. And to make it even more complicated, the Cherokee Nation sent a letter saying, yeah, he might qualify for citizenship. We got to look into it. So that's why everything hit the brakes. It's a major legal hurdle. But the legal system, it had to do its work. The reports say Oakley was afforded his due process. And after all that, the court came back and determined that, McGirt didn't actually apply in his specific case. And the reason why, the ruling concluded that my man did not meet the criteria for Cherokee citizenship. Okay. So even with the claim and the letter, when it came down to it, he wasn't officially recognized as a citizen for the purpose of the law in this case. Correct. And that ruling was the key. That's what confirmed the state of Oklahoma did have the right to prosecute him after all. So once they cleared that up, man, things moved fast. Tulsa County prosecutors refiled the charges, 11 felony counts of peeping Tom with photographic or electronic equipment on August 1st, and then formally filed him again on Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. 11 felony counts. You hear me? 11. And right after that came the arrest. An arrest warrant was issued and he was booked into Rogers County Jail. That's where Claremore is. Just after 5 p.m. that same day, August 6th. So what was the reaction from the church and the school? How did they handle this news when it dropped? Man, it seems like they acted fast, real fast. The church leadership, they apparently found out about the arrest from the media. Can you believe that? A reporter called them on that Wednesday afternoon, not from Oakley, not from law enforcement, from the media. And that same evening, they held a church meeting. The Claremore Christian School Board then immediately moved to get Oakley off the board. Immediately. Yes, they put out a statement saying he'd have no future involvement at all. Very decisive. And the church itself, his job as a pastor, Destiny Life Church, put out a public statement and they announced he was dismissed, not just from being an elder, but from his staff position too. They said they were following a, quote, biblical model of church discipline. That's that process they have inside the church. Confrontation, repentance, and if it comes to it, removal. The lead pastor, Glenn Schaefer, he made a statement calling it heartbreaking news. And, he emphasized that their main concern was for the victim and her family, and also for everybody in their church and school communities who were affected by this. So what's Oakley's legal status right now? Well, he bonded out of jail the next day on Thursday. He had his first court appearance, the arraignment, on Wednesday, August 13th, but it got continued. The next court date is set for September 10th. So, this whole legal process is really just getting started. All right, so let's step back from the details for a minute. What does all this mean? Because this ain't just about one person's alleged actions, is it? Nah, man, this feels bigger. For one thing, it really highlights the importance of, just being vigilant in public spaces. That loss prevention officer, his awareness and what he did, that was absolutely critical here. Without that, this whole thing might have never come to light. Exactly. And then there's that striking irony we talked about. Oakley himself vlogging about the need for the church to talk about sexuality is something else, right? These charges now force that very conversation, but in a way he probably never, ever imagined.